Under here, let's talk about this multiple motion project. So the idea would be that you would take a sequence of images with some sort of person, hopefully something that is, not hopefully, but I want you to do something that has some advanced selections. I don't want you to just to do a basketball rolling across a room that just has a circle as a selection each way. So preferably a person. Obviously, if you've got a person and they're moving fast, you may want to speed up your shutter speed or avoid motion blur, because that can be hard to select. Not that you can't do it, but some tips would be that you would take some images to where you've got a fast shutter speed and there's really nice progressive images that move across the frame. They're not one on top of one another. As she kind of comes off the diving board, one image never overlaps the other of her anyway. So if you're creating something, the idea would be you create something like this. Is the PDF that I'm sharing with you, and then she's not on top of one another. She's not moving toward the camera, so the back position of her is never totally covered by the front position of her, if you know what I mean. She's moving across the frame of your shot, right? And there's not a lot of motion blur. So if you're using your cat or your dog and they're moving fast, that's going to be really hard. You can do it, but there's going to be a lot of motion blur probably. You've got fur and advanced hair selections that you're going to have to make. So keep that in mind when you think of the concept that you're going to create. I've also added in the folder some examples that you can use, that you can see some examples that other students have done in the past. So the idea would be we're going to have to take these 4 images or more and mask them to create this one image that has a sequence of a person or object or animal or something moving in it, this multiple motion. So advanced selections and things like that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to Photoshop and we're going to open those images. I'm going to get rid of my image here. I'm going to get rid of my image that I had open here, and I want to open up the 4 images that I need for to make this one image out of. So I'm going to choose File, Open, and I'm going to go out to my desktop, and I'm going to find my dive images here. I'm going to select all of them, and I could choose Open. Now, I need to move them all into one image. I need to decide which one's going to be the backmost image, and this one's probably going to be the backmost image where she starts on the diving board. I'm going to utilize everything in it, including the pool, the grass, the fence, and everything else. I'm going to put all the other things on top of it. So I'm going to go, and if I want to do, I can go arrange, and let's say just 4 up, or I could see them all up, and that way I could move all the other ones. This was the one where she's on the diving board. Here's number 2, so I'll go number 2, and I'll drag that into number 1. I'm holding shift when I'm dragging that layer into number 1. Now I'm in number 1, and I've got the background, and then that image 2 is now layer 1 of this image, right? So I can get rid of image 2, and then I can go to 3, and I can grab this background, and I can drag it in there. I'm holding shift, so it puts it in there. I'm going to go to this one. Next 4, I'm holding shift. I'm going to drag it in this one. So now I can get rid of my other images, and I've got them all here as a sequence of images. My backmost layer is where she's starting on the diving board, and on top of that is the next, and the next, and then she just kind of follows off the end. Now, I could bring it in that way, but I could also do this. I'm going to don't save and get back to that same position. If I go to File, Scripts, I think it's in here, load files into stack. So I could load a stack of files, 1, 2, 3, 4 dive images into one image. So load files into stack, and there they all are. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And with this way, it actually labels them with the name of the file. So now I've got dive 1 image, dive 2 image, dive 3 image, dive 4 image. However, it didn't order them the way that I wanted, so I can reorder them down here if I want. I wanted my dive 1, where she's starting on the diving board at the bottom, then 2, then 3, then 4. So I wanted to go up that way. So it's up to you how you want to get the images. Copy and paste part of an image into another image. If I wanted to, I could open up an image and edit, copy, and then paste it into another image if I wanted to, or drag and drop, however you want to, right? So I don't have to do it that way. I could come in, File, Open again, grab all my images, and then I could just go to, let's say, number 2, select all, edit, copy, go to 1, edit, paste, and now it's in this image. Remember, you're just moving your tabs, finding what image you're in, copying and pasting, or dragging and dropping layers, however you want to do it. I'm going to delete, don't save, don't save, don't save. I'm going to go back, file, scripts, load files into stack. This was the easiest way for me to get them all in there, open them all. There they all are, coming in and ordered in the correct way. Okay, let's go back here. There. So now that I've got them all in there, this is the one I'm using for the backmost image. What I want to do is mask out this layer, just her. All I want is her on this layer. So I could come in here and make the selection as best that I know how. Let's say quick selection mode. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this really quickly here. I want you guys to take care of making great selections. So I've made her a selection. I'll knock that out and knock this portion out and knock this portion out and knock this portion out and maybe start to get to some of that. But, you know, I don't want to spend a bunch of time making selections here, but I want you to go through and take good care of making selections. And you may have to come in and maybe get things like your quick mask mode and get your brush tool. And if you've got some, you know, some motion blur, maybe you want to get a really soft hard edge or soft edge blur. If you got motion blur right here, I don't have a lot of motion blur. I can get hard edge and I could say, oh, maybe you're, you know, get some more of this area here around the edge of her hair and kind of pick that up and maybe go to black and eliminate this area of this in this quick mask. So I could go back and forth with my quick mask and then make my full layer mask right here. So now I've cut everything out and behind, and I could still go back in, remember, with my mask. Whoop, wrong color there, undo, and get my black as my foreground color here, since I'm working in the mask, and paint out this area around her ankle. Or if I wanted to come in and, you know, really adjust this the way that I needed to, I could do that, right? And I, you know, zoom in and get my brush tool and get a really small brush and get in here and eliminate this stuff between her leg there. And if there was motion blur, I can get a nice soft brush if I wanted to. So really making a good selection. This isn't a great quality image either too. You guys should probably have a nicer, higher resolution image when you're starting from. But now that I do that, then if I show the background image, now I'm starting to get this multiple motion. I want you, when you take your pictures, never to move the camera. I don't want you necessarily to have to take this layer and move it into position. If you move it into the right position, if the camera never moved, if you were just standing there on a, you know, had a tripod or just standing completely still, or had your camera setting on a solid surface, you're not going to have to worry about moving any of these layers around. Everything is going to kind of match up nicely. So you'll just go through, you'll make your selections of your layers. Make sure I'm going up here. I'm going to select this layer. I don't want to make another layer mask on this layer. I want to make a mask on this layer. Go through, make my selection, right, as good as I can. Create my mask, and now I've got the third. The fourth, I may even come in with this. This is gonna be really hard to make all these splashes and things like that, but I could just, you know, really just kind of start, whoop, didn't want to select this image. I could just start a mask that was white here and then just start to eliminate areas that I don't want to have show and show through. So I could go back, since I've got my mask here, I could come in and get a nice large black mask, maybe a really soft one here, and I could just start to paint out that image. So now I'm painting out some of those splashes. So this image, this is what this looks like, right? I'm just kind of painting that in, and I could always go back in and say, all right, let's just do this. Let's get a little bit smaller. Let's get white. Let's paint some of this stuff back in, some of these splash areas. And, you know, I probably want to have all these other images open too, because I'm saying, I got a little much there. I got rid of, you know, on this image, I'm showing too much and covering that stuff that's underneath there. So I want to come back in and maybe choose a nice, you know, softer, larger brush with black and paint that spot back in there, and that way I don't have to worry about it. So you can decide how you create your masks and go back and adjust them to make this multiple motion the way that it needs to be. And again, if I was doing it the other way, you got to think about how you have these things ordered. Like if 3 was in front of 1 and 1 was in front of 3, it might look kind of strange because, you know, like in this, in these areas, like where her hand overlaps, like this hand goes in front of this head. You might have to concern yourself sometimes if there's overlap of where and how these are stacked and ordered.